Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started once again. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the light refreshments we had for you. Before we begin with our staff presentations, I'd like to give Jim McCauley, our County Clerk-Recorder-Registrar of Voters, a few minutes to be able to go over some items that are still very worthwhile, but were not either completely covered or covered just very briefly in our last session. So with that, Jim McCauley.
Okay, think about your campaign to get your message out by foot, by mail, by phone. Let's talk about the press real quick. It was a great idea. You want to supply them with a photo, but you also want to give them a bio, a brief description about yourself, why you're running, and some of your goals. Get to know your reporters. When you go to the newspaper, find out what reporters are going to be covering the election. Make sure you get that reporter's phone number as you give them your phone number. Letters to the editor. That's free advertisement. You want to, on your campaign committee, you at least want to generate 1 or 2 letters a week to all the newspapers. Okay? Find out at the newspapers what is their policy for printing letters. It's important to find out if that newspaper is going to endorse. And if they're going to endorse, who's going to be doing the endorsements? Is it going to be an editorial board? Is it going to be one person? Jim gave some great advice is, during the campaign, you're going to get that phone call from the reporter at 8 o'clock at night asking your opinion about something. If you don't know, you say, gee whiz, it's a great question. I've got a phone call right now. I got somebody coming over. Can I call you back in 20 minutes? And you do that for everything. Why you do that? It gives you enough time to take a deep breath, think about what you're going to say. Maybe you need to make that quick phone call to someone else to ask their opinion about the question. So always keep in mind, don't fire off right away with that answer if you're not 100% sure. Your actual campaign committee, who should be on it? Think about it. You want people on there like a salesman, someone who sells insurance, a car salesman. Why? Those people are used to hearing the word no, but keep going. Okay? Fundraising. Where do I get my money to run my campaign? Well, you start out with your family. If your brother won't give you $100 for your campaign, you're in serious trouble. You start out with your family, your friends, people you do business with, your doctor, your dentist, and you start building out from there. And when you go to raise money, one thing to always remember, it's basic sales. If I ask Ryan, I need $25 for my campaign, I just stop and look at him. The first one who talks loses. Okay? So I ask him for $25, and then there's silence. If he starts talking about money, I talk about issues. I say, gee whiz, I need that $25 to get my message out, to pay for an ad or pay for my walk piece. If he talks about issues, I talk about money. If he talks about money, I talk about issues. Okay? Very simple, and it works. You need to come up with some sort of budget. How much money am I actually going to need to be able to run this race? Okay? Grassroots campaigning doesn't have to cost a lot of money. If you're willing to walk precincts, to hand out that brochure, if you're willing to use the telephone. When you come to our office, you can buy voter lists that have their telephone numbers or their email address. Also, there's automation phone calling for candidates now. And what this automation for phone calling, how many of you ever gone home and turned on your answering machine and got a political message? Okay. What that is, it's automation. It's like 4 cents a call, and this technology searches out answering machines. puts on your political message, and that way you're not calling that person live and maybe disturbing them at dinner time or supper time. I have a couple phone numbers from companies. If you guys give our office a call, I can provide you with some of this information. In fact, it's an offer to everybody in this room. If you want some one-on-one time with Ryan or myself, give us a call, and we'll try to provide you that time. Signs do not win elections. Signs are good for the people that are supporting you, but signs don't really win elections. But if you're going to produce signs, you need a few. You put them in some key locations. But again, you got to start thinking out of the box if you're not going to spend a lot of money on your campaign. So like, you see one sign, all of a sudden you see 10 signs, and they all start to blend in. Well, what can you do to be a little different? Maybe the shape of your sign is different. Maybe instead of the square, it's like a stop sign. Or maybe something as simple as tying a piece of ribbon on top of your sign, so when the wind blows, the ribbon blows, and it attracts your eye more to that sign. Postcards, that was brought up. That's another personal way of motivating people to vote for you. Like if you have a friend and they take their phone tree and they write to 25 of their friends endorsing you. You provide them with the postcards. Again, it's that one-on-one time. The most effective way for a candidate to attain someone's vote is that one-on-one contact. If you knock on someone's door, you meet them, you hand them your brochure piece, maybe it's just 30 seconds you have with them. 70% of the time you'll walk away and you get that person's vote. It's very, very powerful, the one-on-one time that you can have with a voter in obtaining their vote. On the fundraising, do not use your own money unless you're independent wealthy. It's a fool that uses their own money for a campaign race, unless you just want to spend money. It's just one of my recommendations. If you can afford it, definitely buy the candidate statement that goes into the sample ballot that's mailed to every voter. It's a cheap way of getting your message across. And every voter will have that information when we mail the sample ballot to that voter. Now, we'll talk about the candidate statement, how it has to be written to conform with state rules in a little bit. But again, I encourage everyone to write a candidate statement. Endorsements. Endorsements don't win elections. Let's look at this last congressional election on the Republican side. One of the candidates virtually had all of the endorsements of every elected official in Placer County. Didn't win. It's a nice add-on. It's a key. It helps build motivation for your people that are supporting you, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. Let's see here. Before you run for office, they did a good job asking questions why you want to run, but you want to make sure you have your family behind you. Running for office is it's more harder on the family than it is on the candidate. It can be hard when you open up the newspaper in the morning and there's a bad story about you and your children are reading that story or your spouse is reading that story. You want to make sure you have that conversation with your family so they understand what you're going to be going through and the time commitment. Every weekend, just about every night of the week, something is going on someplace. Someone's having a fundraiser. Somewhere there's an event. Rotary is having something. Kiwanis is having something. You need to go.